Um, I heard another thing on the news where they're talking about this 223 round that's fired by the AR-15. It's 5.56 by 45. Actually, it's a military designation. Um, being a round that just devastates and rips limbs off and disembowels people, and it's just it's a cartridge of war. All right, let's talk about cartridges of war. Cartridges of war that I don't know why this won't focus. Cartridges of war that have been used by the U.S. military. I'm not going to go into mini balls and muzzle loaders and things like that. We're just talking about cartridges, okay? And we're going to talk about foot-pounds of energy, mathematically calculated foot-pounds of energy. I'm not going to get into bullet mass and all that kind of stuff. And people saying, yeah, the math says this, but this bullet mass, knockout value or whatever. Because I agree with you, but we're going to do an apples to apples comparison here. Okay, first cartridge used by the U.S. military was a 4570, standardized in firing a 405 grain lead bullet at just short of 1,400 feet per second. Okay, that had a muzzle energy of 1,763 foot-pounds. Okay, now granted, they killed buffalo with that. It wasn't real popular, some people think, for buffalo round. I mean, if you were a settler or something like that, maybe. But the buffalo hunters actually went to much larger rounds and much heavier bullets. But it would kill a buffalo. Well, replacing that was the Craig Jorgensen, which was a 30-40 caliber, 30 caliber, uh, 30 caliber round, which is kind of when the military got married to the 30 caliber. Of course, other countries were in the 30 to 32 caliber. Um, England, Germany was 32 caliber. Okay, so the 30-40 Craig in its original loading was the 220 grain bullet, 2,000 feet per second, roughly. That gives us a kinetic energy of 1,954 foot-pounds at the barrel. It's just substantial. So then we upped on that. In 1906, we came out with actually 3003. Okay, but then in '06, the 3003 came out in the A303 Springfield, but then that was changed to 3006 and standardized. Okay, the round we used in World War II was a 151 grain bullet fired at a nominal 2,800 feet per second from the M1 Garand. That round had a muzzle energy of 2,629 foot-pounds. Substantial. It's a 3006 150 grain bullet. Well, then after World War II, we were looking for. There was a lot of political controversy. We were looking for a round to replace the 3006, so it would be used in more efficiently used in full automatic weapons. The United States pressed for the 308, since we were the predominant country in the world. We pressed for the 308. We went with our M14, which didn't turn out to be a great rifle. Well, most of the rest of the world went for the FNFAL types. Well, we were cocky Americans at the time, so we figure out we had control of the world, and we did have control of the world right after World War II. But that round was 147 grain ball ammo, and now I've corrected this velocity. The barrels back then were 22 inches, okay, 22, 24 in that ballpark. To give an apples to apples comparison with the typical AR-15 M16, which is going to be an M4 configuration which will have a 16.5-inch barrel. The figures for a 16.5-inch barrel on the 147 grain 308 come out to 2,680 feet per second, and a muzzle energy of 2,345 foot-pounds. Now, in the 60s, we had trouble with our M14. M14 is a finicky weapon. Did not stand the jungle rigors, but it was expensive to produce. We had a man in there named McNamara who was a penny pincher. Came over from GM. He was a penny pincher, and GM or Chrysler, I forget. He was a penny pincher, and we ended up with the M16, the original M16, which in its original configuration really sucked. And we end up with, they're firing 55 grain bullets, but today we're firing, in the military, we're firing M885 ammo with 62 grain ammo. And out of the 16-inch barrel is typically running at 2,900, 3,000 feet per second, call it. So we're talking a muzzle energy of 1,239 foot-pounds. Not much more than half of what the 308 it replaced was. Okay? So this fantasy that the 223, the 5.56 by 45, is this devastating, kill everything round. I want you to understand something. If we take this from the military platform and put it in the civilian platform, in the commercial platform, it is the 223 Remington. 223 Remington is typically used for prairie dogs, woodchucks, and coyotes. Okay? Now, there are people that will shoot deer with them, but the thing of it is, the round is so underpowered that you better have the right bullet, and it takes an expert to put that bullet in the right spot. I may have this much slop with a 30-06. I don't have any with a 223. I need to put that right where I need to put it. Okay, it's an expert's round. But basically, all told, it's a varmint round. It's a gopher round. Okay? It's not this major blow your arms off and splat you all over the wall round that these media types want to throw that disinformation at you like. It's not. It's a pipsqueak round. In Afghanistan, well, in Iraq they had a problem with it. In Iraq was a lot of close-in fighting. There was a lot of room clearing and CQB stuff. But now they're in Afghanistan and they're finding great trouble with the 223 because these ranges are extended. We're talking 400 or 500 yards. And the 223 simply does not have the steam to reach out there. It simply doesn't. So, you understand under the military guys, what they want to do is they want to fix their enemy's position so that they can bring in artillery or something like that, or an airstrike. They can't even fix their position because their 223 is so underpowered, the guys are just walking away from it. Change that over to 308, different story. Now we got bullets smacking with some authority. So that's my thoughts on that. I just understand I wanted to talk about the disinformation that is put out there concerning the AR-15, M16, and the round it fires. They're embellishing the whole platform to make it sound like it's a super weapon of war and kills everything in its path. No, it doesn't. They're lying to you. Okay? And when you hear these politicians and news people talking about firearms, you understand that they don't know what they're talking about. Okay? They have a narrative they want, and if they want to get somebody who's a so-called expert, they're going to find somebody who's going to say what they want them to say. Talk to me, guys like me, and I'll tell you the truth. Okay? It's a pipsqueak around. Alright? I'll take a 308 over a 223 any day. The only reason I shoot a lot of 223, because it's cheap. All right, there it is. Come back at me if you want. Bye.